Hello, Collective, to a timeless reading of yours. Please bear in mind a few things. You may be here because the title intrigued you, or you may have caught a vibe, and seeing whether or not anything within the storytelling time is yours. Please bear in mind a few things before we get into the reading. I am Master Seventh, aka Seventh, that reads these energies for you. Should you want to know who she is, what I have to offer, know that I am a master healer that provides remote wellness and tarot intuitive insights. However, there is more information and details that can be found in the description box below. You'll also find other various links within the description box to help you navigate this channel and gain access to my sister channel. All the content within all my channels are timeless for your viewing pleasures. Please remember the most important thing is that both femininity and masculinity are non-gender specific energies. Navigate the story however it may make sense to you. Remember that this is not a one-to-one reading, so, you know, take the story as it may apply, all right? If it doesn't, it may not be yours to use as a way of understanding your universe. This is a timeless message. Whatever brings you here, there may be something here for you. All right, Collective. Let's see what is going on. It's money matters. It's material right now, rather than it being spiritual. The Fool. I think some of you understood a spiritual part of your life and now making the necessary changes internally to reap the rewards. Yeah. Empress energy. Yeah, you're figuring things out here with all those cords, more or less, the winds tangling themselves up and morphing together is very like getting Cinderella vibes here. All right, like some of you may have been the forgotten one in the family, and you ain't gonna be forgotten no more, I'll tell you that much. There's something coming your way while you're not waiting for anything, you're just doing you. This is a time of not, you don't have to figure this one out. I don't think this is a time for you to figure out. It's already been figured out. Yeah. All these major arcanas here are telling the story. They're telling a story that this is not a time for you to rewrite or make changes. There's no like grammatical errors that need to be polished. There are no any more drafts that need to be written. There are no more. There's no one else that's gonna profit. Like seeing or being participatory of the baby stages of this project. And this baby stage of this project is very much you. The only audience that is needed for this journey is you. And I think the world is making itself very clear in that aspect in your universe. I think some of you are taking yourself also very, like, I'm feeling a very collegiate energy coming through. I mean, some of you may also have, like, be anticipatory of, like, a class reunion and, you know, wanting to understand what that means for yourself. You know, what does your life look like? Is it what you thought it would be? What will you talk about if this is something that you get to experience? You know, what is your story, basically? But I think whatever draft you're in your story is that final draft. It's basically what's being said here. Okay, not saying that there are no other opportunities, or you're not gonna have some mistakes or flaws in polishing your story. No, but that good rough draft, that's a good rough draft. It doesn't need much more else. It's not really missing much. Doesn't need flair, and it sure as hell doesn't need somebody else rewriting it for you. No one gets to rewrite your story except you. Holy shit, you know, the High Priestess, okay? I'm seeing somebody also benefiting what it means for them to raise their child because of the nostalgia. Your inner child is very happy to be alive again, to be participatory in Disney movies and tell you versions, spill truth, spill secrets, show you what it has, given you a kaleidoscope of a vision to experience too. Maybe you just forgot, but you pretty much led a life that if you were to want to write an anime or a cartoon or a story, you have a good character of a story. You have a couple of people that be very good at producing the story, coming alive in your story and having a say so, having an impact. Non-fiction or fiction. Excuse me, I see some of you know that truth is stranger than fiction in the political times now in the atmosphere. Understanding where you're getting your information from, and maybe also being in that degree of knowing that because it comes from that source of information, you're taking it with a grain of salt. Some of you are new to conspiracies and are in the story that most individuals who've been introduced to them in their life comes with the first, second, and third wave of shit. Comes with their first, second wave of shit, and is usually not around, has nothing to do with the conspiracy itself. The conspiracy doesn't give a shit if it's a conspiracy or not. It has absolutely nothing to prove for itself. It's the people that you're either getting the information from, listening to the information from, the ones you're asking to have a conversation with based on the information that you're trying to conjure up in your mind and figure out and process and have your own cognitive dissonance and like who do you report to, that kind of shit. Some of you are also struggling with like, well, how am I gonna go to therapy with this shit? And maybe even the therapist is not gonna believe me. Like you're seeing where the system can fail, while also realizing, whoa, the system is very smart for the way that it seems to be a failure as well. Whatever stage of the game you are, in fantasyism or in groundedness, this is your story. It's like your Akashic records illuminating what it remembers. You remembering, liking the reincarnation dialogue and having a conversation about that. Wanting the conversation or being open to having a conversation of past life regressions or taboo or what it does to mean to read tarot, have a tarot deck, cleanse a tarot, understand the controversial energies when people pick up tarot and decide after years their religion, born again Christians again, what does that all fucking mean? Are you supposed to take it in with a grain of salt? Are you supposed to take it in at all? Does that mean a heed of the call? Is that pushing my intuition to say refrain from it? Or am I supposed to lean in closer to it? I think that's the universe playing an absolute gorgeous game of contradictions, and we're just like little toddlers coming up for a breath of life, not remembering that we can float. The universe is very delicate to the approach of making that journey very lonely. She's very cunning in that because she's so contingent on making you understand you do not report to anyone besides getting to Mother Nature through you for healing. That's why you use every resource every resource that you could have access to help you out. Whether you had cancer, beat cancer, went through chemo and eating better, whatever it is, whatever resources that you're gonna say you need in order to gain that resources to get better, is not the other person healing you. I, as a master healer who heal other people, remind other people that I appreciate them getting to a point in life where they accepted their progress and think that because it was me that they're doing it with, that they owe me a thank you, or that it's me changing them or healing them, or however I administer my healings, that it's doing something that requires like losing a part of me. That's not how ether designed herself to be that vulnerable and fragile. No, if that's the case, I think we would have a lot more easier time going to a massive reset that the ether needs than however long it took to get to wherever we are now to reap the rewards of a very much necessary ether change. That is very much out there. I don't care what conspiracy topics you decide to ignore or can speak a million pages on. That energy is to be felt. You do not have to believe it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to speak on it. That's how loud that shit is. That's how loud that shit is. People can be completely quiet and keep their opinions to themselves. Watch you move and understand how you move if they wanted to make themselves available to see that. That's how in the face energy is to introduce itself, and for the person to receive the message of the introduction of the energy to receive the message. Are we always capable of making an ass out of ourselves to take the energy of whatever the combustion was? Of course, that's part of the ingenuity of how the world has been perfect and will remain perfect long after we're here. The first draft is the only draft ether returns to as it grows older and older and goes through time and has many changes. It sheds its transformation, all the stages of the game, without asking your permission. It doesn't need your permission for the sun to come up or the sun to go down. It's not asking you if you like whether or not you like the temperature of the wherever the convenience is of where you are. It never asked you once for that opinion. It doesn't care. And as much as I believe in that in the context of the message coming out, I also see the value of that. I think that's also where it becomes ambiguous to pray. Because to pray for something is to say that you're lacking understanding of something. I think the ether gives too many. It's like an information overload. It's like overstimulating the amount of information that's out there. It's more or less being able to dictate it to be a valuable aspect that's missing, to be like the true justice aspect, right? But I think that becomes controversial too, because when you think of the judicial system, I mean, is that justifiable? I mean, some things have happened over time and continues to happen that it's like, really? We're gonna call that justice? I have a whole Ponzi scheme in order to understand the Ponzi scheme of the Ponzi scheme. That's fucked up. But starting all this entire reading with this major arcana and getting into this whole like rant, it's not up to you figuring out this last draft, going back into it and changing shit up. This is a draft written. You've written this draft, King of Cups, Ace of Cups, Knight of Wands. You've written this. You've written this dialogue. You've written the opportunity to say these words, to reach in the depthness and look at what can be conjured. What's the lotus flower being born from all this? And it's essentially you. You light as a feather. You being in the ether of this experience. You being the sponge of hearing all this conjuring up and sorry, I got distracted. And being able to make sense of everything is not the case. I think you showing up to making more sense of yourself is exactly what you're allowing this opportunity to become for itself. Okay? I think you're allowing passion to show up for itself in the way that it wants to introduce itself to you, and you deciding whether or not you're going to step into that opportunity. I think this is a moment of you sitting back. Yeah, you're sitting back and looking in the face of what it is that you've conjured up, and having people be this energy and showing themselves, you know. And with that, as they show up themselves, you're going to see, well, if you more or less fuck with it or not. Yeah, the Hierophant or the Ten of Pentacles. You know, you're going to be the one reaping the rewards of what the story of the major arcanas have been so far. How they pop up into materialism is however levels it needs to be in order to bring an end and start anew. Alright, yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning or night wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.